What is going on YouTube? This is the Just BSN podcast. We got episode number 7 today. I'm here always with Mr. Andrew. How are we doing, sir?
Doing all right, man. Would be better if we actually won the game on Sunday.
Yeah, that was a tough one, and we're obviously going to talk about that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a very and it's honestly been a long week too. Like in general, like it's just been one of them weeks. If nobody lives around here, we got snow the night of Halloween, and
Yeah.
yeah, that just ruined the rest of the week for me. Honestly, like when I got up Wednesday morning to go to work, and I saw 4 inches of snow on my car, I said, "Dude, this ain't it. I can't do this." It took me 10 minutes just to clean off my car. So like I was not happy, and it has not gone well since. So I am looking forward to the weekend for sure.
It's getting close to that time, man. I'm not ready for it.
No, I'm not, and obviously you're a little bit closer to the city, so you get to deal with that even more. So good luck with that, my friend, because
Dude, it's worse.
yeah, I can't imagine. Like if it's bad where I'm at, I cannot imagine what it's like actually in the city. Like that's too much for me.
Yeah, dude. Like, it looked like it wasn't a whole lot, thank God. Because when I woke up, it was pretty much already all gone and melted and stuff. But,
Mhm.
oh my God, dude. I can already tell. Like, if this is going to be the winner, it's going to be awful.
Yeah, it's gonna be a terrible winter. I already know. But we got a lot to talk about again. Obviously, we had a little bit of a mention of the game last week, which obviously we lost. It was a good game. Like it was exactly kind of how we sort of predicted. It was either we were going to win by a field goal or they were going to win by a field goal. Like it was going to be a
Yeah.
close game regardless. We knew that the defense was going to hold it, and at the end though they didn't. And I think it was just a matter of they were just gassed. But that's the second, out of the third weeks now that we have had teams that have basically driven down a 2 minute warning like that and won or almost won, because that San Fran game we could have very easily lost had
Yeah.
Moody not, hooked that, wide right. So this defense does have a little bit of concern going in right now, but they're still very good. And I just think they've been on the field a lot, and that's going to play a part. And that's been our struggles, I guess, over the years in general. And it didn't help with Joe Woods, but we got to find a way to keep our offense sustaining drives a little bit longer to keep our defense fresh for that fourth quarter.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think PJ Walker did a lot better of a job and making better plays and better throws. But obviously, with him causing 3 turnovers, this is kind of the quarterback play we cannot sustain any longer because for as much credit as I've given him for keeping us in games, especially against good opponents like the 49ers and like the Seahawks, like it's one of those things where you can't continue to sustain because he's had I think 3 turnovers in almost every game since he's played.
At
He's had
least two.
at
Yeah.
least two to
I mean, at least
three
two. Yeah.
and it's just not good enough because those turnovers were huge for Seattle. If we would have won the turnover battle and we didn't fumble the ball and pick off twice, like I think we win that game comfortably. And that's just a massive difference between winning games comfortably and losing by a game winning touchdown in the final 30 seconds of a game. And you can't just have those moments and you can put the blame on whoever you want, whether you want to put the blame on Kevin Stefanski for his third down call instead of running it on third
I
and
don't.
three. I
I
don't
don't.
either.
I
I don't
don't.
either. I think that was a quarterback mistake because you had 3 guys open. You had Elijah Moore who was breaking through the middle, who would have been wide open if you just held it for not even like a half a second longer. You had Jerome Ford, literally the most wide open player out, and just as a dump off, he would have had almost a free path to the end zone at that point.
Yeah.
And you had David Njoku on the flats on the outside, literally wide open for like a 15, 20-yard gain himself. So you had options other than Amari Cooper, and you could tell it was just a one read all the way through. And they knew that, and Jamal Adams made a great play on the ball. I mean, yeah, he headed it, but he was up in the air with his hand up, so he was going to deflect it no matter what. And as a quarter, as a veteran quarterback, you should be able to realize like it's one of those plays where you can't just read once. You have
Yeah.
to look at all your reads, and you had you had a good pocket too. And all you had to do is just find Ford or even Njoku out in the flats or in the flat or out in the dump off. And it was a guaranteed first down, no problems. And you literally just knee and win the game at that point.
Yeah, yeah, and look, I get fans in the argument that we should have ran it. Absolutely, like it's 3rd and 3. You've been running the ball significantly well that entire game.
Mhm.
Pierre Strong looked awesome. I'm really excited to see what else he can bring now that they're starting to, you know, implement him a little more. He's fast. He's big.
Breaks a lot
Like
of tackles.
and he's nice in the screen game too. Like
Yeah.
he made quite a few good reads. So I mean, we had that, and you could very well have ran that ball, but I don't think it was a bad play because again, guys were open, and it was. Unfortunately, PJ has been sort of a one-read quarterback, and he's been very lenient on trying to get the ball to Cooper, which I'm not going to argue to a degree, but the Seahawks also have a pretty solid DB core, and you know that their top guy is going to be on Coop. And with that said, you are going to have guys open. We even had that problem earlier in the game where he again forced it to Cooper in the red zone. And Elijah Moore he was as naked as you could make him. He was so open, he would have walked into the end zone from
He
the
was
10-yard line.
he was 20 yards open right down the middle.
And it's frustrating when you have a quarterback that's 5'10 that can't see over the line and doesn't make enough reads or doesn't go through his read progressions just to get the ball out. That's frustrating. And for him to turn the ball over, I mean, look, I get it. I'm happy that he's given us 2-1 since we lost Sean, but at the same time, like we cannot continue to have quarterback play this bad. Like it is bottom of the barrel bad. Even with Watson so far this year, it's been like we're like 30th, or I mean we're probably worse now. Um, it's not good. We need better play out of our quarterbacks, no matter if it is PJ, no matter if it's DTR, no matter if it's Watson. If he does play, which we are obviously going to talk about too. But it was a frustrating one. It was one that we definitely had it in the bag. We had the momentum going, and just a few plays made the difference. And it was ultimately the picks. It was the fumble. It was, I believe, he even had a really bad pitch to Ford that lost us like 6 yards. I forget if that was this week or last week, because this week has been mush. Like my brain is mush right now. Uh,
I
but
want to say it was last week that
it
he
probably
had
was
the
last week, but like again, stuff like that doesn't help us. Like that at that game, Ford had a great game, but he only had one big run, which was that touchdown. So you can't kick yourself in the butt. You can't shoot yourself in the foot this many times and expect the same results. You knew that if you were not going to take care of the
yeah.
ball against Seattle, that you were going to lose. And at least it was close. I'm glad it wasn't a blowout loss. But honestly, the closer losses almost hurt more because you're like, man, we were there. Like we could have been 5-2 right now, sitting pretty, and instead we're 4-3. But fortunately, we have a decently what should be an easier game for us. The Cardinals are not a very good team.
No, and back in that situation too, even if you did run the ball or if PJ were to have just got out of the pocket and even if he had to throw the ball away and it was 4th down, you could at least punt the ball and pin them at their own inside their own 10
Yep.
and give them barely what it was like a minute 20 to drive down 90 so yards down the field.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd rather have done that than throw a pick,
Yeah.
So, but no, like you said, the Arizona Cardinals should be a lot more easier of an opponent to deal with, especially for the defense. One of the worst offensive lines the Cardinals have, and they're starting a 5th-round rookie quarterback. So it should be one of those situations where you're at home, it's going to be cold, and you should be able to go out there, decimate on it should almost look exactly like the Bengals game.
Yeah.
You should go out there, decimate on defense. It's a rookie quarterback, so I don't see why Jim Schwartz won't hesitate to dominate the rookie quarterback. I mean, he hasn't been hesitant in any game he's coached
Right.
in where he's gone after the quarterback, and obviously he's been super successful. We're a top 3 defense in the NFL because of it. And he's going to have a field day with a rookie quarterback and a beaten up offensive line. It's just the fact that, and the big question that we could switch to is who the hell is going to be our quarterback? Is it going to be PJ Walker? Is it going to be DTR? Is it going to be Deshaun? Because Deshaun came out earlier today and said, we will see. Yeah, he said, we will see. He doesn't know. He was limited yesterday in practice. I believe he was limited again today in practice.
I think so. Yeah, I think they're trying to ease him back.
Yeah, and I think, if anything, he's going to be limited tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's going to be how he feels going into Saturday and Sunday, because obviously he's going to throw some balls on Saturday just in case. And he's going to go to the field early Sunday, throw some balls and see, hey, look, I can at least get the ball in the air and I can get it deep. It's got a little bit more zip than it did 2 weeks ago, so I have a little bit more zip on behind the ball. I think I can go. And it could be a good game for him to come back for as kind of like a warm-up game, because you have Baltimore and Pittsburgh back-to-back again. And so this could be a good, warm-up game for him. Again, it shouldn't be that difficult an opponent to face, especially that defense has been very lackluster for Arizona as well. So
and depleted. Like they had, they've had a lot of injuries.
So if not, I think you don't even go PJ Walker's way, and I actually think you go DTR.
I totally agree.
Because I think with all the turnovers that PJ Walker has had, yes, he's 2-1. Yes, he's done enough to win games, but also the defense has won you games because they've been giving you the ball back by intercepting, getting fumbles and stuff like that, and getting stops. But PJ's just in there, let me throw a pick, let me fumble the ball because I got sacked. And so I think DTR just got thrown into a bad game because he played against Baltimore, which is one of the best teams in the league. And I don't think you throw
solid defense, very good defense.
You don't throw your rookie in against a team like that in his first game of his NFL career. You throw him into more of a game like this where he could settle into the league and be like, okay, this is what an NFL game is like. This is what an NFL team looks like. Yep. Yeah, they're beaten up. Yeah, whatever. But it's better than going up against the Baltimore Ravens and getting clobbered all day in and day out.
And especially on such a short notice that he had to. Like he didn't know that he was going to start until 10 o'clock in the morning, and the game started at 1. So that was a tough spot for him to be in, and I can see exactly why he struggled. But also, if you're going to start anybody else but Watson, regardless of who it is, because I do agree with you. I think if Watson does play, he should play now, because I think this will be a better warm-up game for him. I would hate for him to come into Baltimore rusty, but at the same time, I don't want him to, re-aggravate the injury. And so that's the, concern right now. And so, but for me, again, I'm a little bit tired of Walker. I think we've seen all that we can see from Walker. I don't think we're going to see anything bigger or better. This is what he is. And with DTR, you still don't know, because he had one bad game that he was not prepared for. He couldn't have prepared for it. And so I think if you can give him some time and a legit playbook for him to say, hey, we are going to establish a run early, and we're going to get you going within the play action, and then we're going to make plays, and then we're going to keep us up. Let's get up in the score, and then we will cruise. And as long as the defense doesn't stall out on us, I think we'll be okay. But the defense does have to eat, and that's wanted to bring this up too before we talk a little bit more, I guess, about Watson. Is are you concerned at all with the defense? Because the last few games they've we've slowed down. We gave up 38 points to the Colts, or was it 37? I don't forget. And then obviously last week we gave up that last 2-minute drive after they kind of struggled on offense all day long. They had chips here and there, but they really didn't establish too much. And then that 2-minute warning, they drove down the field with ease. So are you a little concerned with this defense, or do you think it's just a matter of just keeping them off the field and keeping them fresh for the fourth?
I think it's just a matter of keeping them off the field and fresh for the fourth. I don't think there's a significant problem, because we've seen what they've done against the Colts and against the Seahawks. They caused turnovers, they got picks, they got fumbles. we caused a lot of turnovers in those 2 games. It's just a matter of the fact that once they get to that fourth quarter, especially those last couple drives, they're gassed because they spend so much time on the field because PJ Walker can't keep a offense on the field for long.
No, he
And
cannot. You cannot sustain a drive to save his life.
no, and that's why if you have Deshaun Watson, even if he's injured and he can't do a whole lot, he does a lot with his legs, and he can sustain drives for a lot longer of a period of time, which keeps the defense off the field. So even if DTR or even if Deshaun were to go play Sunday and he runs a lot more than he throws, or if he's starting to struggle throwing the football and he starts to run more, at least the defense is staying off the field for a significant amount of time,
Yep.
and they can stay healthy enough and stay fit enough to come in and just handle their business. And, if Arizona were to have a chance in a 2-minute warning of a fourth quarter to come back, I think the defense would be a lot more prepared and a lot more ready because they're not out there tired. We also didn't give the ball up at the 50-yard line off of a pick,
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like we're giving them good field position at that moment. At least if Deshaun does sustain a drive and say like we missed a field goal from the 30, at least they're at their own 30 and they have a rookie quarterback who maybe all day is already struggling to sustain drives. Like
Mm-hmm.
the defense is a lot more confident in going out there and stopping it rather than, like, oh shit, man, like they're out in the 50 already and we just came off the field not even like 2 minutes ago
Right.
and we're already back on here and we're just gassed and it kills you for sure. So I think it's just a matter of keeping the defense more off the field than the defensive play itself, because we've seen the first 5 games of the season before we played the Colts and before we played the Seahawks. The Browns were number 1 in defense. We gave up only 200 yards. Like we didn't give teams much, but then the 2 games came in where PJ Walker played for against Indianapolis and played against the Seahawks. Obviously, he played against the 49ers, and obviously the defense was off the field a lot for that game. I didn't say they're on, but it was one of those. It's one of those games where he came on for 2 games and could not keep the offense on the field at all. It was always, 3 and outs, was always throwing a pick or fumbling the football. So it's just a matter of, if he were to start, could he sustain drives to keep the defense off the field? And if Deshaun started, we know for a fact that he can sustain drives, even with his legs. And if he doesn't pass the ball much, he can at least run the football, keep getting first downs with his feet, and just sustain some kind of drive that keeps Myles Garrett off the field and keeps the rest of that defense off the field, and where they can be more effective when they do come on.
Absolutely. And I think for me too, one of the other huge differences, especially with that Colts game, was we were constantly putting points up. Like we were, I mean, we were putting up field goal after field goal after field goal. Even same with the San Fran game. Even if you weren't finishing with a touchdown, you were still getting some sort of points on on the board, and that helps the defense. That at least gives them that sigh of like, okay, we have time. Like we can do this. Just take a deep breath. Let's go. And unfortunately, last week we really didn't have that because, I mean, again, the Seahawks are a solid defense. I literally give them so much credit because they played well the whole game. They did not let up. They did have their moments, but like again, we just didn't finish the game, and ultimately that's the biggest difference. And fortunately, that hasn't really been a huge issue for us this year. Like we've definitely had our ups and downs in terms of being able to get those games. But in every game that we've been in, most of the time we usually come out with a W. The ones that we lose are really the blowouts. And even the Steelers game, it wasn't a blowout. Like we were in that game the whole game, despite everything that we went through. I mean, the Chubb injury, the first quarter alone was like an hour and a half long. Like,
yeah,
it was such a brutal game, and it was so physical. Like the Browns have been able to keep up. And I just hope that we can continue that. I hope we don't, lose any of that gas. And I guess that brings me to my next point, trade deadline. Browns, for the most part, didn't do anything. We obviously traded away DPJ, which I'm a little sad about just because I loved him as a player. I think he's done great things here, and I've nothing but, ultimate respect for him, man. Like he was so great for us as a 6th-round pick. I mean, you can't get much,
Ask for anybody
much more
better.
value out of that. And him going home, that's cool. Like that's a great story for him, and I hope that he helps that Lions team continue to be as good as they have been. Because honestly, the Lions are I would say a top 5 or top 6 team right now. Absolutely.
Oh, 100%. I
And
agree.
and so for him to join that, it gives him a new, fresh breath of air, and it also gives him a chance to play for that contract because as of right now, I mean, he hasn't really had anything to play for, and ultimately, that's what it was. This was not a thing of he's not producing or he's not doing this, doing that. Like he wasn't past the ball a whole lot, but he played a lot, and it just came down to like more than likely we were probably gonna lose him in free agency. So you might as well get a pick out of him. And the fact that we got a 6th-round back out of it, like you didn't lose anything. And you now give guys like Tillman and Goodwin a chance to play more, and have a little bit more of a say in this offense, which could be good, could be bad. You could see more of Bell as well. Like it gives you options. So I'm not too I'm not too concerned. Like I'm not as concerned with that as I was with us just not being able to get Brissett just because I wanted Brissett. It just sounded like the asking price was too high. But did you think that the Browns were fine in terms of playing it cool, or did you think they wanted to be, or did you want them to be a little more aggressive in the trade deadline?
I think what they did was fine and playing it cool. I think we looked at it as a lot of the fans were panicking because we didn't get a quarterback, and they will obviously we all wanted Jacoby Brissett back, and I know a lot of people wanted even Josh Dobbs to come back, and you know, for me personally, I think what we did was we played it cool. We did fine. Like you got rid of DPJ because again, it's more likely you're going to lose him regardless. So you might as well just get something out of him or you get
Right.
something from it for him, whatnot. I think for me, you're 4-3 right now, and you could have been 5-2 if you would have won. You would have been 5-2 with a third string quarterback, and that tells me that you really don't need to do much anyways. You didn't need to do much or anything at all and at the deadline. Because if you're 5-2 with what you have now, and now you're 4-3 with what you have, like that's still really good. You're still competing. Are you gonna win the division? Probably not at this point because Baltimore just keeps winning. So I
Right.
don't think you're gonna compete for division, but you surely have a good chance of a wild card spot. And I think playing it safe and playing it cool was probably the better idea because, like you said, the asking price for Brissett was probably way too high. And even from what I was hearing, they were trying to get McLaurin probably in a package with Brissett, and they're probably asking for more of like a 2nd-round pick. And you can't
Yeah.
lose any. And I get people are freaking out, but you can't lose any more picks.
You can't. Like not
We
not after what we gave up for Watson.
no, and the next like the last 2 years we draft our first pick was in the 3rd round, and I think it's gonna be the same thing for this coming draft too. I think our first pick's not until like like late 2nd or early 3rd.
Yeah.
So you have to, and Andrew Barry's probably thinking that too. Is like we have to savor these picks because we don't have a 1st-round pick until like 2025.
Yeah.
So we have to savor some of these picks because if we keep giving up picks, we're screwed. This team's future is screwed.
Yeah.
And yeah, you want Brissett back, but cool, he's going to come back for one game versus the Cardinals, and then Deshaun's going to come back right after. And I think the point too was if Deshaun was going to go on IR, then they probably would have risked it and got Brissett back.
Yes.
But the way it sounds from doctors and Deshaun himself that he should be back whether it's this week or he's almost guaranteed back next week. So they probably said it's best to just play it safe, let him come back, and not go out and get another quarterback for a 1 week rental, just and give up a 2nd-round pick for it. Like that's not a good business move. So for the people complaining, like I don't know what your logic is. I mean, we already lost a lot of draft picks. We don't want to lose more. We can't have a 1 week rental quarterback and then be like, oh well, at least we won that game. He should start for the rest of the year. What I know, of course, we know how the fans are going to think about that.
Yeah.
I think what we did was fine. We're 4-3 the way we are. Even if you were to start DTR next or this coming weekend and he won, like again, you're 5-3. You're off to a great start to the season. You're in the hunt. You're right now. You're in a wild card spot. Even right now, you're in a wild card spot. So there's no need. I think people are panicking too early and are being too desperate because I tell you what, dude, if some of these fans were GMs, they'd be horrendous GMs,
Oh, they'd
and
be the worst.
we'd be 0-16 for the last decade.
Yeah, because people would be so quick to trade people,
Panic.
fire
Yeah.
people, panic, and it's yeah. Thank God some fans don't have a say in
What the team does.
what the team does, and like obviously,
We
uh,
would burn.
yeah, and obviously the Browns front office, and obviously ownership, they do listen to us and they do hear us
Mhm.
out, but at the end of the day, you got to be smart. Um, and you know, besides Brissett, like there really was nobody other than like Dobbs maybe that you would have brought back that would have been okay. But again, it's for 1 or 2 games max, and then you're back to Watson. So I'm fine
There's
with
just no
what they
point.
did. I'm fine, I'm fine with what they did, and I'm fine that we really didn't get too aggressive. We didn't really need to. The only thing that I obviously wanted some sort of clarity on was tackle. Uh,
Yeah,
you
I think
know,
that's the more majority thing I wanted was what we were going to do at tackle, which it sounded like we signed a couple tackles,
yeah,
obviously. So
yeah, and so we will see how that goes. I think Jed has played a little bit better the last 2 weeks, but now he's starting to deal with the ankle again, and it's just he still has his moments where he literally looks back and he's not blocking anybody, and that's a problem. And you just can't fucking have that as a offensive tackle in this league. You got to be blocking somebody, and you got to know what your assignments are. And if you don't, that's bad, especially in year 3 or 4 now that he's in.
mhm.
He's been in for a while. Like you should know how this thing works, and you should be able to communicate with one of the best left guards in the league, if not the best left guard in the league. Like that should be a favored factor for him, if anything. Like the odds should be in his favor because of that. You have
Yeah.
a veteran, and you have a outstanding lineman coach and Bill Callahan. You have no excuses to be bad. So he needs to keep pulling himself up by at the bootstraps. Uh, you know, figure out the game up here and worry about the game on the outside. Quit getting too far into your own head, because I think that's what Will's problem really lies, is it's not his actual capability of playing the game itself. It's his mental is just so fragile and so weak. Really, ever since like 2021, when we really struggled with Baker.
Mhm.
He spoke a lot about how we would boo him and stuff during games, and it's like, of course we are. You guys are playing awful, and you guys have a great team. Um, it just never worked out, and
Yeah.
so you just can't be fragile in this league. Take it on the chin and move on. Like, quit worrying about what we say, because if there's one thing we know about Browns fans, they're very emotional and very
Mhm.
sporadic, and just they're very quick to jump at every little thing, and even I do it at times, but um it's important to still take a step back and be like, okay, these people are still human regardless. But also, it's also just a game at the end of the day. Like we have lives beyond this. Um,
Mhm.
enjoy it, but don't make it ruin your day or ruin your week, because it's just not worth it. Um, but we will see how that goes. I honestly hope Watson plays, just for the sheer fact that I don't want PJ to play, and
Mhm.
if he does, obviously sit out, it's got to be DTR. Like it needs to be my boy, because I think he deserves one more crack at it.
Yeah, no, I think he deserves a crack at it too. And I was gonna mention too, like as we were talking about tackles, I've seen a couple people complain that we didn't get a offensive lineman or a tackle, and it's like, well, listen, nobody's gonna give up their tackles at this point in the season. Nobody's gonna give up
No.
any offensive line pieces at this point in the season. Like, so you have to just go out and get a free agent or a couple of free agents that are available and just call them in, which is what we did. Which everyone's like, oh, look at it, we've got like XFL offensive linemen. It's like, but that's what's available to us.
Yeah.
That's all we can get. You're not going to go out there and get like a fucking Trent Williams, and
No, you're not.
it's like you guys are thinking too above and beyond, too high. Like we're at the point of the season, nobody's gonna give up much of anything unless you're giving them a good chunk of something. So even if it's an offensive line piece, which is very crucial to teams. So I get people wanted Alex Leatherwood. Cool. But he's probably going to cost you a second round pick or something around those lines because
Yeah.
offensive lines are going to be very valuable at the trade deadline. So you're going to give up a high value pick for an offensive lineman, no matter how good or bad they are. And you just had to go out there and, like, I get it, it's an XFL. You got like 2 XFL tackles. Who cares? Like, they were free, they were available. And again, Jed is dealing with the ankle issue, which is what it was probably the reason why we got those tackles in the first place, because of him suffering with that ankle injury. So we have no depth at the tackle position. So yes, I get it, they're XFL tackles, but we needed depth because we have nobody else behind what we have in our starting lineup. Like, that's it. Like, those are our tackles. That's all we have on the offensive line. So you can't really blame Barry for going out there and doing his job and getting pieces to kind of back up Jed Wills, who might miss a game or so, if anything. You know, you need depth at the position. So, and we're not going to spend multiple draft picks putting people in a backup role.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the dumbest thing you could do. So I don't know, man. Like, it's just very, very frustrating. Like, I get it. People wanted things done at the deadline, but also too, we have to, again, savor what we have. We have to savor our draft picks because we cannot give up any more than what we already have in the last couple of years.
Exactly. And I think personally, I just don't think we'll ever make Browns fans happy. I think
No.
literally the only thing that's going to make Browns fandom happy is just a Super Bowl. Like, that's the only thing that's going to really make us happy. Because we're never satisfied. Like, we always want more, and it's because we've been kind of spoiled considering how average we've been. But we're used to winning no more than 4 games a season for literally like over 10 years, like well over 10 years. The whole entire 2000s and even the 2010s were brutal. Like, there would be seasons where we would win 2 to 4 games and we'd be like, oh, well, at least we won 4 this year. And it's like, we're not there anymore. You have to still appreciate the moment and still appreciate everything that we got. Is it frustrating that the quarterback that we traded for, that we pay this money to play, is not, it's not playing right now? Yes. But do you really think that guy's not frustrated as well?
Yeah.
Like, seriously, as a former player of just anything, like, if you've ever played sports in any facet of your life, you know that if you ever get injured, it is the most annoying thing to deal with because you can't do the things that you want to do. You can't do the things that you feel like you can do one day, and then you do it and you're like, oh no, man, I'm not there yet. It's frustrating. It's very taxing on players, and especially players who have like legitimate uh, injury issues. OBJ, for one example. That dude is injured all of the time. You don't think that dude is so mad all the time? Like, he's got to be so frustrated that he's constantly dealing with nagging things, and it's like, it happens. These players are still human. They're not robots. Like, they do get hurt, and I don't think it's a issue of Watson not enjoying being on this team or whatever the rumors have been, and just the stupidity that I've heard over the internet the last month. I just don't think it's that. I think it's the guy's hurt. The guy thought he could play against the Colts, and he even said that this morning.
Yeah.
He said, I kind of jumped the gun a little bit, is what he said, in terms of playing too early. Sometimes your stubbornness and ego to fight through pain tolerance, it can affect you, because it's, especially with the throwing motion, like, that's one thing it doesn't matter if your pain tolerance is good or bad. If that throwing motion is off even slightly, it makes a huge difference in the way you perform, whether it's in football or baseball, whatever it is. Like, throwing is a different freaking animal than an ankle or a knee or anything like that. Dude, elbows and shoulders and arms in general, especially throwing, it is not fun. It's not fun at all.
No, and it sucks. And like you said too, like you don't think that, and people are complaining about Deshaun's injury. You don't think he wants to be out there
Yeah,
playing for us and wanting to fight for us? Like
he's probably pissed.
he's definitely pissed. You could hear in his interviews, he's pissed. He wants to play, but when you injure the shoulder of your throwing arm and have a micro tear, it is very difficult to come back from. And everyone's like, "Well, we paid $230 million, so he should be out there." $230 million doesn't save you from being injured, idiot.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make you invincible. You don't become God once you make that kind of money and you don't get injured, or if you do get injured, you can just play through it. Like he wants to be there. He wants to be out there. He just has a hard time throwing the football because it's his throwing arm. Otherwise, he would be out there. If it was like a slight knee injury or something, he would be out there. Or if it was a slight ankle injury, he'd be out there playing right now.
Yeah.
But when it comes to his throwing shoulder on his throwing arm, it is very hard to come back from at a moment's notice. It's hard to come back from a week, 2 weeks. He's 3 weeks. Like the doctor said he had to be out almost 4 to 6 weeks. He tried to jump the gun after 3, and look what happened. He's like, yeah, I couldn't go, and it frustrated him because he wanted to be out there, but he couldn't go. He understood that. You still got the win, so don't frustrate yourself. You got the dub. And you don't think he wanted to be out there against Seattle? Of course he did. Otherwise, he wouldn't have traveled.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
But
for real. He's traveling. It's not like he's staying home and saying, I'll watch it from the couch." No, he's traveling with us.
yeah, he's going to the games. He's traveling with the team. I don't know what you're frustrated about. Yes, he wants to be out there. Yes, you want him out there. I want him out there. You cannot rush injuries. You cannot. We all want Nick Chubb to be out there, but we're not going to rush him back.
No, hell no, no.
And we,
As far as I am concerned, Nick Chubb needs to do all of the red resting that he needs because I want
yes,
him back for next year.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I'd rather him be healthy for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
And don't you think that Deshaun doesn't want to be healthy enough to play? Like he does. But when you have a small tear on your shoulder, you don't want to make it a big tear. Otherwise, he's gone for the season.
Yeah.
And people just don't seem to understand that. And it's like, do you have you ever touched a football? Have you ever touched a baseball or basketball or played a sport in your life, period, at all? Like, injuries are not just something that takes 2 days off and then you come back from. It's not, your boring job as a construction worker or, you're a landscaper and you got a boo-boo from tripping yourself and landing on concrete and you can come back a day later. It's not that kind of injury.
Yeah.
It's an injury that hinders you from moving your arm up and down and doing the throwing motion. Like
Yeah.
it hurts a lot. And like you said, even the slightest bit of movement, if you were to go like out here just a little bit,
Yep.
that's a difference of throwing 50 yards to 70 yards. That's also a difference from being 90% accurate to 10% accurate. Like
Yeah.
there's so many differences, and people just don't understand that. Like he didn't fall and get a boo-boo, and he's back a week later, a couple days later. He's actually playing a sport that's physical and tough, and it's very demanding on your body. He's not sitting there laying floorwoods on the ground and sitting there like, damn it, my shoulder hurts. Like,
Right.
I'll just come back to it tomorrow. Like, it's not that kind of injury, my guy.
No, it's not. And again, like I get fans are just impatient because we have a Super Bowl like defense, and honestly, like this team is capable of doing a legit playoff push. How far we go, I don't know, but this defense itself is Super Bowl caliber. It is. And I think if the offense can click, anything can happen. So I mean, fans see that and they're so like we're so ready. And I get it, Browns fans, I get it, but you need to be a little patient and understand that also the easiest part of our schedule is still ahead. After this game, we got more divisional games, which won't be easy. But the out of out of division games are so easy, in my opinion. I think the hardest game is going to be against the Rams, straight up. After that,
Yeah.
um, Chicago does not fear, like it does not uh, make me fear them at all.
No.
Arizona is not a team I fear at all. Like we have a nice stretch towards the end of this year, the last 7 games of the season.
Once
Like
you get past Pittsburgh, it's a very good stretch of games.
it
Once you get
is.
past Pittsburgh.
So let's worry about that because that's when you can really get on a win streak and get at least a wild card spot. Because I mean our division is still good. Like this
Uh,
division is going to be tight until the very end. So those division games are going to be very important, and the Browns need to take them seriously and win them.
yeah. Let
Don't
me read you the schedule real quick.
go for it.
So after the Cardinals, you have the Ravens and Steelers back to back. After the Steelers, you have the Broncos, you have the Rams, you have the Jags, you have the Bears, the Texans, the Jets, and then you finish off with the Bengals. So after you hit the Steelers, you got a nice stretch where, yes, the Broncos just came off a win against the Chiefs, but they're struggling hard. The Rams are struggling really, really hard. The
Yeah,
Jaguars, for some reason, Trevor Lawrence just doesn't look like the guy this year right now, like he
yeah,
did
very
last year.
consistent for sure.
The Bears, again, a team not worried about. The Texans, they look good on occasions,
Actually,
but
yeah, they're probably the best team besides the Jets because the Jets at least
yeah,
have a competent defense, and
yeah,
Zach Wilson has looked a little bit better, but their offense does not compete like it was with A Rod. Like if A Rod was still playing for the Jets, that team would be
a scary
scary.
team.
It
Yeah,
would be a scary team.
and also let me remind you, the team stats right now. PJ Walker's just not the guy like you want
No,
Deshaun back because like passing yards 180 per game, that's 30th in the NFL. Points for 22 points per game, that's actually surprisingly 13th in the NFL.
no,
Points against, that's 11th in the league at 19. You only give up 19 points, that's 11th in the league. That's almost a top 10 statistic. The only good statistic we have are our rushing
man,
yards at
it's running.
148,
Yeah. Yeah,
which is
we've been
number 2.
we've been averaging about 150 yards a game, and I think as a team we could easily like almost get to 200 to 200 in this game.
Maybe that's a stat that Kevin Stefanski should look at.
Exactly, and it still boggles my mind to think that that it's possible that he doesn't see that or doesn't take that into consideration because that would be me all day long. I'm like, oh, these guys suck against the run. Let's knock it down their throat. Like let's literally run the ball down their throat every single down. Like screw it, because then it
Yeah,
also opens up the play action. If you have to pass the ball 20 times, but you are 15 to 20 and you get at least one score out of it, that's good, especially if the run game is killing it. And it was last week. And again, when you add Pierre Strong playing the way, the way he did and the way that Jerome Ford has at least done somewhat well, especially in the passing game. He's definitely better out of the backfield. I think Kareem Hunt has actually been our best runner so far,
yeah,
and he's been playing on one leg for the last like few weeks now. So just imagining what this team would still be doing if Chubb didn't get hurt makes me sad. But um, we're there. Like we have the talent. So Browns fans do need to be patient. I get that you're frustrated about about the quarterback player. I am too, but we're almost there. It could happen this week. So you never know.
yeah. So talked a lot of Browns.
Yeah, a lot of
What,
Browns actually. Oh
what,
my gosh.
why don't we get into our score predictions for this coming Sunday?
Sure,
If
sure,
you
sure.
don't mind going first.
Yes. So I think that this is going to be a game that's not really going to be incredibly high scoring. Even if Watson plays, I think it'll be like 24-13 Browns. I see us at least being able to control the game a little bit better. Let's not let Arizona get hot. Let's not let them get into a weird rhythm, with a rookie. Pressure him all day long and don't let up. Like get that kid to be scared for his life.
Mhm.
And if you can do that, you will have an easier day because they are literally one of the worst offensive lines I think in the league right now. They're the most depleted. So this is a game where Miles Garrett
and the D line should eat. So that's what I expect. 24-13.
I'm gonna go with 27-10.
Okay.
I think this defense is going to eat. I think they might get a score somewhere in there.
I did call that against the Colts too, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah,
So it might
you
happen
did.
again.
Yeah, you did. So no, if anything, they might get a score and a field goal out of the game. But if Deshaun plays, I think that's going to be key because I think he's going to keep that defense off the field for a while, and then that's why I predicted more like lower score for Arizona because it could be a lot worse. It could be PJ Walker starting again on Sunday, and I'd probably raise that from 10 to like a 17. It's like a 23-17 in affair. It could be pretty close because can't stay on the field for very long. But no, I say 27-10. I think the defense comes out and just absolutely dominates. I think they get back to where they were the first few games of the season,
right?
And I think if Deshaun does play, he will put some points on the board, and a lot of it with his legs.
Yeah. All right, so let's move into a little bit of OSU and Cavs talk because obviously OSU has another game today. The big news is Ohio State is ranked first, which was honestly kind of surprising to me. I really thought that they were gonna keep Georgia up there, and they gave it to Ohio State. And I really think it just comes down to we've beaten Penn State and we've beaten ND. I think those two games alone speak for themselves. And I think the committee was like, you know what, those were two tough games, and they both came out with it. So let's give them the first spot right now. And if we can beat Michigan State and then that team up north, as long as we beat that team up north, it's signed, sealed, delivered, because I don't think there's another Big Ten team that can compete with them in the Big Ten championship game.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, if you win that, you're going to the playoffs regardless of what seed you're going to be. But if you can somehow stay perfect, like that's key. So I'm just going to look for Ohio State to just try to have another solid win. Go out against the Rutgers. Don't let up. Don't give them any room to make plays and keep it close, because they are a pretty solid team. I think they're 6-2. I think this year.
Yeah,
so,
something like that.
I mean, they're solid. I mean, especially with how they usually have not been. They're a pretty solid team right now. So don't let up. Don't take them lightly. Go into that game. Take care of business. Continue on, and just keep the committee on your side, which they're not going to be on Michigan's side because of everything going on. Just had to quickly shout that out real fast because fuck Michigan.
Yeah, no. And to your point, yes, Rutgers, I just looked at that. Rutgers is 6-2 on the season. Yeah. But no, like when the committee made the playoff rankings, it was smart for them to put Ohio State one, because I think they came to their senses. And I know, I looked through a lot of the Twitter comments on that too, and a lot of people are pissed that Georgia still wasn't number one. They're like, well, you can only be number one if you beat the number one team, and nobody's beating the number one team. So Georgia is the only number one team. It's like, okay, well, listen, the reason why they put up
this is a totally different Georgia team.
No, well, that's the thing. It's not just a totally different Georgia team. It's just the fact of the matter is that they based it more or less off of strength of schedule. Mm-hmm. Ohio State beat two top 10 teams. They beat Notre Dame when they were number 7, and they beat Penn State when they were number 9. So
6, I think.
Or 6.
Yeah, it was weird.
And it's like, okay, that alone puts you at number 1, because Georgia has yet to play a ranked opponent, I believe. Michigan has yet to play a ranked opponent. Florida State, I think, should be higher than both of them, because Florida State is the only one who actually played a ranked opponent in LSU. I think LSU at that point were a top 10 opponent or something, and the Florida State beat them handedly too. Yeah. So I think Florida State should have been number 2. I think Georgia and Michigan, but whatever the committee wants, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
No, and that's the. But I think they were smart. People are upset that Ohio State's number 1, but their resume's 10 times better. Their resume is better than anyone else in the NCAA. They're the only team in the NCAA to beat 2 ranked opponents. So, and 2 top 10 ranked opponents at that. So, of course, they're going to be number 1 in the college football playoff. Now, obviously, in the AP polls, we're still number 3, but
Who worries about the AP now?
nobody cares
Fuck
about the
them.
nobody cares about the AP poll. Once the college football playoff poll comes out, that's what matters the most.
People don't mean shit. Yeah, because I was gonna note FSU is the only like college football playoff potential team that I think could beat us. They're
Yeah.
very solid, very just all around a good team. They are going to be a tough challenge for anybody that does play them in the in the playoff, and I do agree. I think they should be too, by far. But also with everything going on with that, with that team up north, I almost wonder if the committee is just going to block them from being able to go to the playoff because of the cheating scandals going on right now. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think that's huge for Michigan because if they do end up getting handed down something, it's all over for Michigan, and like that program is going to go downhill so fast, and it gets almost turned into like a Michigan State type of thing where like there was a prominent college football team, and now they're like a mediocre like program.
Even lower because they're going to miss out on all
big
of
recruits.
the recruits. Yeah.
And because number one, they're more or less going to fire Harbaugh immediately after. That entire coaching staff is going to be fired because they're going to want a whole new coaching staff to come in, and a lot of those recruits are just going to transfer, or if they haven't committed yet, a lot of them are going to uncommit to Michigan and commit somewhere else.
Yep.
And that actually bodes well for Ohio State too because because then all the recruits that are going to Michigan are more or less going to go to Ohio State because it's like, well, they're the next best program, so we're just going to go there. And so Ohio State's going to end up with all the 5-star players that went to Michigan or they want to go to Michigan. They're going to end up with a load of – and Michigan – this could be the end of Michigan football almost, really. This could be the death of them. And unless they somehow win a college football playoff this year, it's dead and dusted. They're done. Like, because they're probably more likely going to be found guilty. That guy doesn't seem to care that he gets caught because he's just going to other college games and just doing the same. So he doesn't care if he's getting caught.
Remarkable. It's remarkable. Yeah, I hope that not only the Big Ten but the NCAA brings the hammer down on them. I don't care what
if they're a beloved
Portnoy.
program.
Yeah, I don't care what Portnoy says. I don't care what any of them say. Bring the hammer down because if you took away a bowl game from Ohio State for selling tattoos, or having to sell their memorabilia from it's big. I think it was like a Big Ten championship ring and shit like that for tattoos. If you are going to do that to them, you better come down hard on Michigan because they flat out cheated, and you can see the literal video evidence everywhere on Twitter right now.
Well, and you saw the press conference you saw the conference with Jim Harbaugh.
He looked nervous.
He looked shaky and scared. Like, and he keeps saying, like, I had no idea about this. You know damn well you had a lot to do with this.
Yeah, you know who's on your staff, you fucking moron. Like
you know what's going on. Like, we're not dumb. Like, and you shaking at the podium, like everyone knows what's going on. And, if we got handed down a firing for tattoos and we got handed, like, a big thing because of tattoos.
Yeah.
This is 10 times worse than a tattoo. This is cheating in college football. Cheating. This is how you beat Ohio State the last couple of years because the only way you can beat them is by cheating. You have to look at their plays and copy their plays and, write them down and have hand signals and stuff like that. Like, oh, my God. Like, and you could not be more, like, out in the open about it, too. You couldn't even be discreet about it. Like, you were out in the open about it. Like, you're like, oh, hey, like, I'm right here.
Yeah, dude, the video evidence was so bad. And it's even better when Harbaugh is in those video plays where he's looking at his OC who's getting the information from the dude saying, hey, it's going to be a run left. And then they crash both the safeties down and Ohio State gets no gain because they knew exactly what was coming every single time. Yeah. It's so funny to me when Harbaugh says, I was totally not aware of this, blah, blah, blah. Get out of here with that crap. Go coach in the NFL, XFL. I don't care what the hell you do. Your time at Michigan's done.
Dude, he probably won't even get a job in the NFL or XFL. He'll probably get a job in some like random ass like FCS from like North Dakota State.
Yeah. Like it's gonna be funny. And the only thing that's gonna be funnier is if the tides turn and they still get the punishment, but he somehow still gets a extension, because that is still like a talk of, a topic of conversation is, he could still get a deal.
Well, that's the stupid. And the thing is like Jim Tressel got fired for the tattoos.
Yeah.
Like, so he's got to be more than fired. He's got to be almost banned from the NCAA for cheating.
Oh,
how the hell do you fire Jim Tressel for something small like tattoos, but yeah, you don't fire Harbaugh for the biggest thing you can't do in the rule book of the NCAA?
The way it's just cheating. It's sign stealing. It's literally what the Astros did, bro. The Astros did that. They had their own way of doing it, but they had that. And
at least they're at least a little discreet about it.
Right. But Michigan was not. They were not. And the video evidence just gets better and better. And the more rumors that come out and the more information that comes out, the more you're like, that's less of a rumor and just more of that's got to be true, because the dots are starting to finally connect. And it's so laughable. I love seeing this.
And the fact that he got caught at a MAC conference school game just on the sideline with an eyeglass camera.
Yeah, you could see it recording and everything. Like you couldn't be more like blatant out there. It's laughable to me, and I just hope that when it comes to that game, I hope that Ohio State fucking just puts the beat down on Michigan, because first of all, you beat us twice in a row now.
That's not going to happen anymore.
Like, we should be as pissed off as we've ever been, especially with the cheating scandals. That's going to be an ugly game. I cannot wait for that podcast, because we are going to talk a lot about that game.
I honestly to God too, I think a lot of like some of Ohio State's like, struggles have come from the fact that I think they're so focused on the Michigan game and beating the shit out of them.
Yeah.
That they just hammer him now, especially with all this going on now. I'm sure Ryan Day's in that locker room. He's drawing up plays. He's just like doing something. He's like, I want to beat the ever living hell out of this team.
Absolutely. Like that was the one good thing about guys like Jim Tressel and guys like
Urban
Meyer. You could say what you want about them as a coach and whatnot, but they only cared. If it was one game that they could only care about,
it was the Michigan game,
because it's the game. And if you're not winning that game, excuse me,
your job's on the line. If you're not
winning that game, your job's on the line. And that's just how it goes. And so for Day, I think he better be incredibly motivated to want to beat them, just because he's lost the last 2 years. And now there's freaking reason for it, because they were cheating. They were literally cheating. It's so hysterical to me that they had to go to those lengths to beat us. That's how good Ohio State has been against them for this long.
Yeah, and that's got to irritate the hell out of Day too, because it's like, dude, you beat me because you cheated, and now we know why. And he's like, now I'm going to beat the shit out of you. Like, we're not going to drop 20 points. We're not going to win like 20-0 or something. He's like, we're going to drop almost a 60 burger on you just to be like, get out.
I want 60. I want 60.
And do it in the big house. Like, oh, that'd be so nice.
I don't care if it's 55 to like 15 or whatever, and there's like 2 minutes in the game, and we still got the ball, and instead of kneeing it, we just air it out. I don't give a fuck. Do it, because they deserve it. That should be part of their punishment. Take a beating from Ohio State the proper way.
Yeah.
Straight up, take a beating, because that's what's going to happen. Ryan Day is going to be so pissed. I cannot wait, because he's been so fired up all year long, and I cannot imagine that leading up to that game, he is not going to be more fired up. He's going to be calling out everybody.
He was fired up against Notre Dame because an 87-year-old Lou Holtz said something bad about
Exactly.
the game, and he was so fired up
Exactly.
about it.
So
he
you
was
know
so
what?
pissed about it.
So if
And he
he's gonna
called
be
him
pissed
out.
about that, if he is gonna be pissed about that, he better be pissed about Harbaugh stealing his plays.
Oh,
because that's no
That's
bueno.
gonna be a whole new level. I can't wait for like the press conferences too, and you just like swearing at the press, like
Yes.
we're gonna beat the out of this
Yeah,
team.
it's gonna be like a Trump debate where he's just talking shit for 40 minutes. He's not even gonna like say anything productive. He's just be like, "F you, F you, F you, F Michigan." Like it's gonna be great.
And we're gonna be eating that shit up too. We're gonna be like, yeah, right, needs to go.
Yes, give me more, give me more. Yeah, I cannot wait for that week. Because that week for this podcast is gonna be a lot of that game because as much as I love my Brownies. As much as I love my Brownies, nothing beats Ohio State versus Michigan. It is still the one game that I still want to go to.
And that would be a fun game to go to. That'd be such a cool game.
Even if I went up north and went up to Ann Arbor, that's fine. I don't care. Yeah. I would do it because that game is legendary. It always will be. And as a fan, like just being a part of that game would give me goosebumps. But next week, being a night game against MSU, even it's still going to be so much fun. I just hope it's not like blistering cold. I hope it's not super crazy, because it's going to be a fun game. I cannot wait.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Oh my god, dude.
already. Wow.
I'm just so excited for the Michigan game now. Like
Me too.
Like it's one of those games it's one of those podcasts where we should just get like a bunch of people and just talk about it and just like just go crazy with it. Just have like a good time. But let's talk really quick about the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Real quick.
The Cavs lost against the New York Knicks and then they ended up beating them last night. Back-to-back games against the Knicks. And I mean, we also too we lost against the OKC Thunder at the home opener, and that was against the Thunder was a home opener, and then we lost to the Pacers not shortly after, and then we lost to the Knicks and beat the Knicks. Cavs, I mean, they're up and down right now this season, but you're missing two stars right now. You're missing Jared Allen, you're missing Darius Garland, so it's clear cut and obvious that. These games you're gonna because they're using their bigs against you, and when Evan Mobley's a center, he's not the best center in the league. He's more of a stretch forward and a big forward. So when it comes to Evan Mobley being a center, he's not gonna be as productive as you want him to be.
Yep.
But I mean, shout out to guys like Karis LeVert who is stepping up in that role, who's dropping almost 20 a game from the bench. Shout out to Donovan Mitchell for averaging almost 35 a game now at this point. And I mean, the boys are doing well enough to hang around, but once you get Garland back, and I think once you get Jared Allen back, I think the games start to roll and you start winning more and more games. You start getting the ball going. So, and I don't know a timetable of when they return. I mean, even Isaac Okoro is having a breakout year. And so I think Garland's due back in a couple of days. You actually got the in-season tournament starting too tomorrow.
Ooh.
So we can't forget about that because that's a new thing this year is the in-season tournament. So that begins tomorrow against the Pacers. I believe it's tomorrow against the Pacers. It's going
to be interesting. I haven't really read too much up on that, so that's going to be interesting. I'm gonna have to do more research about the in-season tournament because that is a whole different ballgame. That's
so cool. The only thing I can say much about is like it's more of like it's almost like a cup. It's almost like a cup thing. Like if you watch a lot of soccer, like I do, it's more of like a in season because like a lot of the leagues, like in England and stuff like that, they have like in season cups, like the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, whatnot. It's just like a cup game in the middle of the week, just like at random times in the middle of the week during the season where you just play a random game on like a Wednesday night and it's just a cup game and whatnot. It's one of those types of things where you have your regular season games and it's like, we make room for like a little cup game here. And so it's just another chance to win a trophy, like an in-season trophy if you don't compete for the league. So it's kind of like that. You're like, if you have a hard time competing for the NBA championship, this is like another way to kind of get some a trophy or some kind of like silverware or something.
That's cool. Yeah, that is cool.
So, but got the Pacers tomorrow for that, the start of the in-season tournament. But what are your thoughts on this team? I don't know if you watched a whole lot this season or if you got to catch up with this team a lot.
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't been able to watch because I don't obviously have Bally, and apparently even people that do have Bally Sports
can't watch the games.
They're saying it's horrible. So, just being able to miss out on the game sucks. But I have been keeping track of them and seeing what's going on, and I think some people are already starting to jump the gun a little bit in terms of just the fact that we've started off 2-4. I think we are
2-3 now to start the season.
So I mean, people are obviously a little, bit upset. People are a little bit impatient with Mobley. But again, Mobley is not a true center. He is a stretch four. I think he plays that role a lot better. So I think getting Allen back when we do, it's going to help his game out a lot. But also, Mobley is still like option, 3 or 4 on this team in terms of that offense. Because you're always going to have Donovan Mitchell, at least until he decides that he doesn't want to be in Cleveland anymore, which you never know. But even so, Darius is going to get more shots up than him. And I think you could even argue even Karis LeVert is going to get some more shots than Mobley. But for me, just let the kid breathe. Like he's still, I think Mobley's only like 22 years old. The kid is still.
This is his third season in the league.
Yeah, so I mean he's still very young. I get people want to see more out of him, but we're 5 games into the season, guys.
Well,
Please
and let me
stop freaking out.
And to tell you the central standings here, Indiana's in first place at 2-2, Milwaukee's 2-2, Detroit's 2-3, we're 2-3, and Chicago's 2-3. So everyone is either in our little in the central, we're all 500 or lower than 500. So it's not like it's time to panic now because we're 2-3. So is everyone else in the division we're in. They're also all 2-3. So, and Milwaukee just signed Damian Lillard, and they're struggling to win games. So it's not time to panic. I just looked at Garland and Allen. They're both listed as game time decisions for tomorrow. So it looks like they're going to be back. Even if they do miss tomorrow, they'll be back for the next game. So no need to panic. They're going to be back. They're going to be fine. Yeah. The world's going to be fine.
It's still early. Like that's why, for me, especially with basketball, I don't think you can really truly start to freak out about a team until probably around January, mid-January.
Until around the All-Star break.
Yeah, really.
Which is mid-February.
Right. And, especially when we had LeBron, we always just said by, All-Star break is when you really want to start cruising. And when you really want to start ramping everything up. And it became kind of almost the theme every year with him, where it was, hey, All-Star break, stay as close in that division or just in the conference to keep in contention. But teams can go on runs, and that's the thing about basketball that people may not fully get is when teams go on runs like that, when they go on these 11-game win streaks, like the Cavs went on some win streaks last year. So we can do that again. It just is what it is, man. It's the first 5 games of the season. We are fine. I'm not worried about us at all right now. The only thing that I really don't like about this Cavs team really still is JB.
Everyone doesn't like JB Bickerstaff.
I think he's kind of overstayed his welcome, but we signed him to a deal. What was it 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. So I mean, I get he has to play through some of this deal before you decide to move on from him. But to be honest, I don't see him being the long-term guy. And I think if you have any chance of keeping Donovan Mitchell, you're going to have to get rid of JB and bring in somebody that's going to be a little more of Mitchell's speed or someone that he is going to like being coached with. Mm-hmm. I think that's the only way that you can keep him.
I completely agree. And before we close this out, again, we have the in-season tournament tomorrow. We play Golden State on Sunday at home in Cleveland, and then we go on a West Coast road trip from OKC to Portland. We play Oklahoma City, Golden State, Sacramento, and Portland. So all next week we're on a West Coast road trip. So that's going to be a true a little test to the season, an early West Coast trip. playing some good teams. So it's gonna be a long season. So don't panic now. We're probably still gonna be just fine. I think we're gonna be a playoff contender. We're probably gonna be just behind Milwaukee for the division. So no need to freak out right now.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Oh man, we have been talking for an hour and 10 minutes. My lord, I have been a zombie. I have been a zombie today. I'm so sorry.
No, me
but
too.
It's been a long week, so we are gonna go ahead and hop off here. But again, this was episode 7 of the Just BSing podcast, dude. We're almost getting to episode
Double
10.
digits.
Like we're getting there. So just keep watching, keep coming. We are seeing some views. So again, if you guys have anything that you guys want to add, or if you feel like we should add to this show, let us know in the comments, for real. Like, we are always going to be open to that.
Yes.
We're still very new to this, so like
Give us ideas.
Yeah. So we are obviously open to pretty much anything. But with that being said, it was a pleasure talking once again, Andrew. This
Of course,
is the Just
always
BSing
is.
podcast. We will see you guys next week.
See ya, boys.